Good afternoon, everyone. We will get started with our Black and Gold program here in just a few moments. Hello and welcome to our Black and Gold event here at CU Boulder. My name is Andrew Garcia and I'm super excited to welcome you all to our CU virtual event. Normally we would be doing this event on campus, but as we are uplifting some of the restrictions with COVID-19, we are excited to announce some on-campus programming here very soon. So before I get started into my presentation, we have a great agenda here set up for you. I would like to go ahead and introduce my colleague, Navardo, who has a very special announcement.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Black and Gold. My name is Navardo Ibar. I'm an admissions counselor here at CU Boulder. And I just wanted to let you all know that I will be offering the opportunity to answer any questions you might have about admissions or enrollment in Spanish at the end of our program today. And I'll repeat it in Spanish for any of our guests as well. Buenas tardes y bienvenidos a todos. Mi nombre es Navardo Ibar. Soy un consejero de primer año acá en la Universidad de Colorado Boulder. Y nada más quiero decirles que tendrán la oportunidad de preguntar preguntas en español al terminar de nuestro programa. Entonces presten atención a lo que digan mis colegas y la información que les compartirán. Gracias. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Navardo. Awesome. So as we get started here, I want to just overview some key points here at CU Boulder that we live by. One of the most important things that really has been embedded into CU the last 18 years is the Colorado Creed. We like to go with the motto, live the creed. And I'll read it out really quickly. It's act with honor, integrity, and accountability in my interactions, respect the rights of others, and accept our differences. Contribute to the greater good of this community. This was designed by students in 2003, and this is something for the last 18 years that we have used to hold ourselves accountable. 2020 has brought a lot of challenges to our society at large, and we've used the creed this past year more than ever to really kind of be a guiding force for us as we here at CU Boulder. So here at CU, we stand with undocumented students, families, staff, and students. We are working tirelessly each and every year to continue to grow. There's a lot of growing pains when you create an inclusive, excellence, diverse campus here at CU. But as I will talk about here in my upcoming slides, there's a lot of resources, programs, places that you could visit on campus where you could just feel right at home, meet students just like yourself, and really just find your community here at CU Boulder. So one of the really unique aspects here at CU is our Lead Alliance program. So we have 8 different colleges here. So whether you're in the program of exploratory studies, College of Engineering and Applied Science, Lead School of Business, School of Music, each of our colleges has a Lead Alliance program. So they're all very unique and they have very unique aspects. So some of the highlights with them is really just connecting with the same students over the summer. We got summer bridge programs. Many of you may have signed up for some of those. We got a lot of scholarships, activities. It's just a really good way to connect with your community. So each of you are eligible to apply to each of the CU Lead Alliances. So they all have different names, different application processes. So I would encourage you just to connect with your college CU Lead Alliance liaison. And one of my favorite places on campus is the Center for Inclusion and Social Change. I know when I was on campus the first week in 2019, I was able to go get some chili over there. They have snacks. They have a very welcoming environment. So I'll take my lunch breaks over there sometimes as well. And I know a lot of students love to study over there. So what's really unique about the center is just a gathering place. People from different identities and backgrounds. It's all just one great place for everyone to connect, where you can develop mentors, connect professionally, and really just find yourself. There's a lot of programming specifically for first generation students or students of color, BIPOC students. and just a lot of, and everyone is really included in this inclusive space. And then another really unique aspect here at CU is our top scholars. So many of you may have gotten scholarships for just having high achieving graduation tenure or a 4-year high school graduation tenure. So I know many of you have got the Daniel Scholarship, Betcher. There's a lot of unique programs and scholarships that you all have received, and kudos to you for receiving a lot of those scholarship dollars to attend here at CU Boulder. So I know we talked a little bit about the academics and the support programs, but what's really makes CU unique, as many of you know, is just the great outdoors, whether that be on fair and field, whether that be utilizing a lot of our services like the rec center. We have hiking nearby, of course. We have skiing, bike paths, you name it. So we really want you to have that balanced lifestyle. And I think that's a really unique aspect for CU Boulder, as many of you are well aware of. So as we move forward here, May 1st is around the corner. I know many of you are still deciding, should I go to CU, maybe CSU? There's a lot of great universities in state here, but we certainly want to highlight why CU may be the best fit for you. So your next step is confirm your intent to enroll. So May 1st is this Saturday. So we really only have 2 business days to make that decision. So connect with your admissions counselor and we can help you confirm to be a CU buff. Next is activating your identity and your CU Boulder email. I can't stress this enough. Your CU Boulder email is very important. So a lot of communication you're going to be getting from here on out is really from the CU Boulder email. So we're going to post directions here. So that'll be coming up shortly on how to connect. It's a Gmail account, and you can forward that to your personal Gmail. So I highly encourage you to set up your CU Boulder email directly. And then we'll apply for housing. So you're going to hear from our housing department here this evening, and they'll be able to share more insight on that next steps for housing. And then next, we're going to begin this new student experience. So what happens next? I've been admitted, I've gone through all these hoops. What's next for me? So this is really what this program's about for the next about 80 minutes or so, is we're just going to overview that new student experience and really make this a seamless transition for you. And so for those of you that have already confirmed, yes, one of your next steps is applying for housing. If you have not done so, please make sure to send final transcripts, and then we'll begin that new student experience. So here's the rest of today's agenda. So you're actually going to hear from a student panel. So current students who are taking time out of studying for finals, who were in your shoes not too long ago. And then we'll be overviewing your financial aid award. So many of you got a financial aid award. I know finance and paying for college is probably the #1 concern you may have right now. So we're going to take some time to overview decoding your financial aid award. And then next we'll hear from the on-campus and off-campus housing programs, and then new student and family programs. So we decided that these were the 3 main topics that we wanted to go over tonight as well. And then we'll have a Q&A at the end as well. So that's pretty much today's agenda. And I know many of you may have some questions. You probably got an email from campus today around 4 o'clock regarding the COVID vaccine. So just know us in admissions got the same email the same time you all did, and we still have some questions as well. So just understand that more information will be coming out specifically about the COVID-19 vaccine requirement that will be required for all staff, all students, and all faculty. A lot of other universities like CSU and DU, Denver University, have already made that decision, and there's a lot of research behind that. So we know that could be a topic of controversy, but just know that there's data, there's facts, and there's science behind that decision that the CU Boulder campus leadership made earlier today. Okay, so next we're going to go ahead and transition over to, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen here. And then we are going to transition over into our student panel here. But before we do that, I would like to emphasize that we will ask you all to send questions in the Q&A function. So we're not going to utilize the chat except for in this very moment here. So before we get started with our panel here, I would like everyone in the chat here, our participants, to just put where you're from. Is it Denver? Is it Thornton? Is it Grand Junction? San Luis Valley? So if our participants here can just go ahead and let us know where you all are from, let's do this. All right, Aurora, Watkins. Those are pretty close. Awesome. Vail, Centennial, Pueblo, Arvada. Awesome. It's always good to see participants from all over the state. Normally we would do this event in Denver, so it's great that we were able to expand this to include everyone within our 4 corners here. as well. Awesome, thank you. But moving forward, we are going to put any questions you have into our Q&A chat here. Awesome, so next we're going to transition over to our student panelists. All right. Thank you so much, students, for joining us here. We know it's finals are around the corner, or you may be doing some final paperwork. So thank you so much for being here this evening to talk to our incoming freshman students. We really appreciate your time. So as we get started here, I would like you to introduce yourself, maybe what high school you went to, and what you're currently studying as well. So we'll go ahead and start with Emily.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I almost said anyone there. It's all good. My name is Emily Hernandez. I am a current second-year student here at CU. My pronouns are she, her, hers, as seen in my little name tag, and I went to Fort Morgan High School. Oh, I am a pre-law student majoring in sociology as well, and I'll hand it over to Yamilet.
Hi guys, my name is Yamali. I am a third year. I'm studying mechanical engineering and STEM education. I went to Pinnacle High School and my pronouns are she, hers. And I'll give it over to Lieski. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that.
That's okay. Hi, I'm Liska. My pronouns are she and her. I grew up in Watkins, Colorado, but I went to high school in Bennett, Colorado, and I'm a current senior graduating in the fall though, in psychology and also environmental products of design.
Thank you all so much again. So students or attendees here, so please put some questions into our Q&A. We'd be happy to answer them here. So as we get started here, could you all describe how your freshman year was? What was that process? What were you feeling as you became a CU Boulder student? So if you could just walk us through just some of the feelings you had and maybe just some of the initial thoughts you had about attending an institution like CU Boulder.
So I'm a first generation student and I'm the oldest in my family. So I was definitely really nervous coming to CU and leaving home. But I knew that there were groups on campus to support me. So I'm part of a group called Gold Shirt. So that's for people who aren't really represented in like STEM. Those people really became my family. And then I joined just a bunch of different groups of people who came from the same background, but I still had so much to learn from them. So I was really nervous coming into CU Boulder, as anyone could be, like leaving home for the first time. But I definitely feel like there were so many resources for me on campus with the different groups and the different clubs that I was a part of.
Yeah, my first year, I actually was an off-campus student, so I lived with a family member, not my parents, but my brother also went to CU, so we lived together. Anyways, yeah, my freshman year was just basically full of trying out new clubs and trying all these new classes and getting used to a new schedule. I think some of the hardest pieces were probably just learning how to do homework outside of class, like in a regulated time span, which is something that you think you have down in high school, you don't. But also like discovering myself. So like finding out what my interests are, exploring Boulder. I grew up in a small town. So I was so excited to actually like have things like around me, and I went hiking and tried rock climbing and went to hot springs, and yeah, there's just like so many different things to do, and like it was just so exciting.
I relate very much to my peers that just spoke. Lots of culture shocks when I came to Boulder. I was very close with my family, so being away from them was definitely something I had to learn alongside. My high school was 80% non-white, and I flipped it coming to a majority white institution. So a little bit of imposter syndrome there, but finding your community, finding your friends. Boulder is also my bigger. We have about 26,000 undergraduates. Don't quote me on that, but my town is about 12,000. But with all the shocks that came, a lot of wonderful opportunities came as well. And I am who I am because of all these wonderful things that I was able to explore and do as a CU buff.
Awesome. So we have a really good question from Grant. Grant, thank you so much. So I'm still deciding between a few colleges. What makes CU stand out? And maybe what's the best experience you've had at CU?
Yeah, I think a huge piece of this is financial reasons. I was interested in going to CU. I mean, I applied to CU, right? But financial reasons, I work a full time outside of school. So I had to find a place that was big enough to accommodate for that, as well as a place that, was still like had scholarship opportunities, financial aid, stuff like that. And also like my first year, like that whole experience, I think it was really like my favorite thing that's ever happened was just taking acting classes here at CU. I love acting, and like that's something I think is really unique is there's just so many different majors and programs that you can take classes in a variety of subjects. And that was really exciting to me because that wasn't something I could do before, is take classes in my interests. So yeah, I mean, CU is just so diverse with its majors that you can just really look around and you'll find something that you like. And I truly recommend that you try other classes outside of your major and don't just take core classes all of your time. Like have some fun, explore some minors, maybe just take a random class. Yeah.
Yeah, I really have to piggyback on what she said. I was between like school minds and this and then CU Boulder, but I think that Boulder just made me such a well-rounded person. And I just feel like they've definitely, within the class I've been taking, I feel like I just can communicate better. And I think I just have like a very diverse skill set that I think is important for like after college, like to present to companies and stuff like that. And yeah, I feel like Boulder just has so much. Like the mountains are right there, and then like downtown. I just feel like everything, and then like downtown Boulder. I meant downtown Boulder, like Pearl Street is right there, but then downtown back home is only like 30 minutes. So I just feel like it really has like a piece of everything here. So yeah.
Our next, oh, go ahead, Emily.
Sorry about that. I like this question. And I could talk all day about why I love Boulder, why I ended up choosing it, all my wonderful experiences. But I also just want to say each student is the one that's going to be going to college for themselves. Ultimately, they're the ones going to classes, getting the degree. So you want to make sure the college you choose is a good fit for you. And even though it's a great fit for other people, it may not be for you. So just make sure you're taking that into account as well. And if you decide that Boulder is a good fit, we would love to have you. Those were just my 2 cents.
We do have some really good questions around the parking situation. So did you all bring a car to campus your first year? Would you recommend bringing a car to some of our incoming students? And how was the parking?
Yeah, so like I said, I lived off campus my first year, so I'm very familiar with the parking situation. It's expensive. It's really expensive to park your car on campus. If you are not like a student living off campus for I would say more than like a 20-minute drive away, then do not purchase parking. You can bike. Biking is the best way to get around Boulder in general. It's just way faster. There's tons of bike lanes. There's also underpasses under most roads, so it's really incredibly safe. And for bikes, I would recommend don't buy like a mid-tier bike, not the most expensive bike, because bike theft is a thing. Yeah, so just be careful. Get a good lock, not just like a little twist tie. That's not going to work. But I truly recommend do not purchase a parking pass unless you need to. especially if you're a freshman, like the experience of like getting used to public transit is so valuable, and you have a card that allows you to get around everywhere for free with your student ID. So yeah, definitely don't recommend it, especially because they're on the outskirts of campus, which makes it a long walk, especially if you have a class all the way in the corner like I did on the other side. So yeah, just be really smart about it. Do you need a car? Just get a bike.
I'm going into my third year here, ending my second year, and I have never driven a car in Boulder. You will be perfectly fine. Boulder has one of the best public transportations. You get a bus pass as a student. The school also has our own, we call them buff buses. They have our little buffalo logo. They stop multiple places throughout campus. You get cycles as a student too, many bike lanes. It is very pedestrian friendly in Boulder. So I wouldn't worry about driving, especially your first year. And if you throw financials in there, you'll be just fine walking and biking.
So we have a really good question from Sina. Thank you, Sina. So which class or classes have been most beneficial to you? And maybe would you recommend a new student taking a class, maybe your freshman year, that you really enjoyed?
So I came in like open option. But I came in open option engineering. So they made me take a class where it was like a project. So they pretty much threw me in with a bunch of other freshmen who also didn't know what they wanted to specialize, like what type of engineering. And I think that was really cool because they do a really good job at like kind of broadening your different skills. So not, even if it isn't engineering, I know a lot of friends who were undecided completely, and like they are like, maybe I'll try like a business class, or maybe I'll try like an art class. So I think that even if you come in like being confused, which is totally fine too, like I know like people come in and switch their majors all the time. So even though this isn't part of the question, I want to like iterate, like it's okay if you come in and you're like, I don't know if I really want to do this, but let me just try it out. I think that changing your major is completely fine. And if you come in, like I came in not knowing what I wanted to do really. I knew I wanted to do STEM, but I didn't know exactly what. So I think that like I'm kind of off track here, but yeah, I think that just taking different types of classes, how we've talked about earlier, and it's okay if you come in and you're not 100% sure if that's what you want to do, because so many people switch majors and that's completely okay. And like, there's not like a limit on how many times you can switch your major. I mean, I wouldn't do it like your last year here, but yeah, so I think like just exploring as much as you can in the different classes is definitely a really good option.
Yeah, going off of that, just I could name so many classes here at CU. We have many interesting classes as well. But from what she just said, I would greatly recommend gen eds will really help us. This just taking classes kind of outside of your concentration, your major, to make sure you're a well-rounded person. Like if you're heavy on STEM, taking some humanities and social courses, all these things, just exploring, take 1 or 2 classes for fun too. Last year, my writing course was called Gothic to Horror Literature. We watched scary movies, we wrote about them, analyzed them. So lots of fun things. Make sure you're working on yourself.
Yeah, one of my favorite classes I took was the acting class, but I know so many people that took like just beyond that, like film classes, like she kind of just stated, as well as pottery or painting or something completely random, you know, like entrepreneurship. The ones that I really recommend just for skill set, I always recommend public speaking as one of your courses. I think it's extremely valuable like course. I took that at the very beginning. I didn't take it here at CU, I took it at community college, but it transferred right in, if you guys are wondering. Anyways, But I think that's one of the most essential skills. And if you take that towards your beginning of your like career or like college experience, it's really, really helpful. It'll allow you to like actually feel comfortable during presentations, which is something that may seem a little scary in front of like larger groups. Yeah.
So next we have a question around counseling on campus and academic advising. We can maybe blend those two questions together. So have you all utilized any the counseling resources that we have here? What was that experience like for you? And then maybe in terms of academic advising, how was that process for you picking your schedule? And maybe what was like an ideal schedule for you?
Yeah, I know that in order to like register for your like next semester classes, you have to meet with your advisor. So I think that like personally, I've had really good experiences with advisors. I think that they definitely want you to come a little prepared, but not like completely like having to have everything down. I think they just at least want you to know like what types of classes that you want to take, and all that information is really available on like the website. If you just look up like your major and then CU Boulder, that you can kind of get a sense of like the classes you're going to be taking. So I've had really good experiences with like academic advisors. I also I struggled a lot when I first got into Boulder. So I even did like academic coaching. So like I had an advisor for that, and she pretty much taught me how to study. And I met with her like once every 2 weeks. And so there are definitely a lot of resources here. I've met with like a professional advisor, and they've helped me like write cover letters and really fine tune my resume to start sending it to companies for internships. And so there's like but those aren't required. Your academic advisors are, but like the other ones are just like extra that you can do. But I definitely recommend like if you're struggling, there's so many different resources out there. Yeah.
So one of our next questions is around the topic of diversity. What are some maybe of the clubs and organizations or departments that you've connected with that supports diversity on campus?
Um, I think that they have like big fairs in the beginning of the semester, especially for freshmen, where you can go meet the different clubs. I kind of just walked up to one, which is SHIP, which is the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. I just walked up to them like my freshman year, and now I'm like going into my 4th year as like the president. So it's really easy to like get involved and like meet people from different clubs through those like first week events where either they have it virtual too. And people who are in the club are just there and willing to talk to anyone. So I think those like first 2 weeks, all the clubs are trying to put their name out there. So I think just being aware of all that is really about valuable way to get connected to different diversity clubs.
There's many different kinds of diversity clubs. I know off the bat we have a Black Student Alliance, we have UMass, MECA. I just blanked on a bunch of the other names, and I'm sorry for them. But also, I noticed that the multicultural Greek life, it's different from like the traditional Greek life that is usually traditionally depicted. And that one has sororities and fraternities specifically directed towards diversity. They do a great job, in my opinion, as that other than clubs, there's just different communities you can get. If there's any students in SASE, I am a SASE student as well. They do a great job. Diversity can be hard, but I strongly suggest finding that community and just building relationships with them, and it'll make the journey so much easier.
All right, so Heidi asked a really good question around how long is a typical class? Is it 2 hours? Is it 3 hours? And maybe what does a good schedule look like in any given week for you all?
Yeah. So I'm a design student as well as a psychology student. So some of the art classes are completely different than your normal schedule hours. My classes usually consist of, my main core classes are 6 credits, and they are 3 hours long, 3 days a week. Which sounds like a lot, but it's actually not that bad. It's it's quite enjoyable. Like it's like you're hanging out with your friends, and then you get to know everyone over your 4 years. And then I see about 12 to 18 students per those classes. Labs take a while, so that'll be about like 2 hours a week. But then that's on top of your lecture classes, and lecture classes range between like 50 minutes to like an hour 40 something, I would say. Your schedule, you're lucky as freshmen. I feel like most people I know as freshmen, they were able to take like a lower credit hour and then sometimes even get like Fridays off. So look for creating gaps in your schedule to study, especially like during midday. I think if you're already in the mindset, it's a good habit to just start getting started on your homework before you get home and want to eat dinner and hang out with your friends. Um, Definitely think about time blocking, and also between your classes, especially freshman year, don't give yourself 10 minutes if it's going to be all the way across campus. I've done that many times, unless you have to, but like really, really, really try to avoid it. You'll be bustling into class with sweat dripping down your face for sure.
So you create your own schedule. It's different for everybody. If you're a morning person, do morning classes, afternoon. Of course, there's some classes where it's unavoidable. You're gonna get at a time you don't prefer, but no one knows you as well as you know yourself. So kind of schedule your classes around that. I personally do 2 Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes, or just Monday, Wednesday, and then 2 different ones on Tuesday, Thursday, get my credits, all recitations Friday. That's what I figured out works for me. Different schedule for everyone. And just a little bit of advice, as my peer just said, make sure you put time for walking. It is a very big campus, lots of walking. There's bus stops. So what I have done ever since my first semester here, I split my computer screen into 2. I have my class search, my class schedule, and I have the campus map. I'm like, okay, how far is this from everything? And that's how I have picked up and let go of some classes purely because I know I would not get there in time. And also take into account not just time, but Boulder sees all seasons. So you will see rain, shine, and snow.
I do have an interesting question around study abroad. Have any of you had the chance to study in another country? Or if you haven't, maybe which country would you like to study at?
I haven't, but I'm planning on going next spring, hopefully if everything goes well, to Singapore. And I definitely think the study abroad office is so like, they're just so nice. They're always like, okay, like, and what can we do for you? And like, what are different classes you want to take? And I was really nervous because like, I don't think I'll be able to study abroad because I'm on like a lot of different scholarships here at Boulder, and I wasn't sure if they were to transfer over. And they've been like really helpful and like even like giving me different resources. There's different like study abroad scholarships for, you know, for different identities and stuff like that. So I definitely recommend. I mean, I haven't gone yet. Hopefully I'm able to go, depending on the situation, the pandemic, but they're so helpful. And they're you if money is a barrier, they're so willing to help you out with like trying to figure it out.
I completely agree. They're like so great. I actually was planning on going last summer, so I didn't get to go. I had plans to go on the global internships program for 3 months to Amsterdam, which is a really awesome program. I would recommend checking it out. It's quite affordable, especially because they are very likely to give scholarships, and they'll even tell you that, like they'll tell you how frequent the scholarships are. They're pretty transparent about how many people get these scholarships, and I think that's super helpful. I didn't think it was an option, but when you start comparing credit hours, you can find some really great programs that kind of give you a bargain for your buck, especially if you're not living in Boulder for that summer period. It's like you're not paying for rent at the same time. So yeah, just look around and ask people. They are so sweet. I cannot even like really truly exaggerate enough Yeah.
So I haven't gone, but I do have planned. It's not exactly study abroad, but it's still studying outside Boulder. I'm planning on doing a program called CU in DC, which is you go to Washington, DC, you have an internship, and then you do classes in the afternoon. Very great program if you're interested. Highly recommend to look into it. The second thing, I was supposed to study abroad last year. My writing group was going to go to the Dominican Republic for spring break, and it got canceled 2 days before because COVID. But I think that's also very interesting for students to know, because study abroad it doesn't have to be, oh, I'm leaving for a semester, I'm leaving for a full year. We have many programs. Study abroad people are very, very nice here as well. I love the department. But there's many programs where you leave for spring break or winter break or just a few weeks, and it is all very manageable. Just go explore your options.
So CU Boulder is considered a PWI, predominantly white institution. So coming into CU Boulder, what were just some initial thoughts, maybe that CU isn't the most diverse university, but we have seen growth in diversity here at CU with regards to first generation students. So what were just some of your initial thoughts at attending a PWI such as CU Boulder?
That culture shock definitely hit me. I also attended a very, very, very diverse high school. And then coming to Boulder, it was a really big shock. But I think that just like finding my community, and just being able to find people who come from like similar backgrounds kind of make me feel at home. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I also went home. So like I went home a lot my first year, which I kind of regret, because I wish I would have like forced myself to get out of my comfort zone and like stay in Boulder more. And now as a third year, I definitely like stay in Boulder like pretty much all the time. I mean, I still go home and see my parents, my family, but I definitely would recommend like trying not to go at home and trying to come outside your comfort zone a little bit and just finding your community. And there's so many different groups to find that.
I set myself up for failure when I came to Boulder, because I also went to a very diverse high school. And before I got here, I'm like, oh, well, Boulder is a big city. The school is known for being fairly liberal. I'm going to be great. I won't face any discrimination. And that's sadly not true, because everywhere you go, like, it's sadly in some form or another. It was a little different than outright discrimination I would get back home, but sometimes it's still there. I've had friends who have had outright discrimination, and I'm not saying this to dissuade any of you from Boulder. It's just, I want to give everyone the reality that no matter where you go, this is a possibility. It could happen. But I love Boulder, especially CU, because the problems that the community has been facing, you can see that they're trying to take the steps and trying to take action to combat that and make it an inclusive, diverse place. And the school itself has many offices, there's many programs, there's many communities, clubs that are working to have that supportive community. But it was a very big culture shock, and sometimes you don't really feel welcome. But that's why it's important to have that support network and know that there are people there for you. And I don't know how to end this, but yeah, I'm not going to say it's a perfect place, because nowhere truly is. But I like Boulder because you can see that they're actually taking steps to take responsibility and be better. Be Boulder.
So I did have another question for you all around imposter syndrome. And I know for a lot of freshmen that is something that is a reality. And even if for working professionals, I have seen that. And I have something I've experienced as well. So was that something that you went through and are you still working on? And at what point here at CU did you realize you belong here? Where was that moment? When did that happen for you?
I feel like I have always kind of had that feeling of, wow, can I like afford to go here? I feel like I don't have enough money to go here to support myself. But that's just like not in like true. It's like there's tons of working students. There's tons of people who are trying to make their way. There's tons of people that aren't getting scholarships. I've gotten a few scholarships, but I've had to pay my way pretty much through school completely. So yeah, realize that you're just because you're not like the top of your class and you maybe didn't receive a scholarship or you weren't eligible for them, it's not like the end of the world. And you may feel like, wow, like I can't go hang out because I'm going to work. I can't hang out because I'm going to work. It's just a reality some of us face, but you'll make friends at the places you work here. And you'll have a great time. Like there's tons of work opportunities on campus as well that I can't recommend enough because you'll get to know people that are, you know, also college students and they have friends and you have friends and you can make more friends. But just realize that there's, you know, you'll find your subset of people no matter where you are, even if that's not CU Boulder, but just realize college, there's so many different opportunities to make friends. And the friends you make your freshman year probably won't be the friends that you have your senior year. And that's okay. You can make new friends. You can change what you want to do. You can change who you are. You can do it all. Trust me.
I like the word change. College is meant for change. It's a great place to figure out who you are, who you want to be. I strongly recommend. I don't like the phrase finding yourself. I like to say creating yourself because that's really what we're doing. You're making yourself to who you want to be. And with imposter syndrome, it's hard, especially for me, a lot of different aspects. Just I'm a first generation woman of color from a lower income background. I could be the poster child for imposter syndrome. That's a joke. But for me, what I figured out is not to let the doubt consume you or be like, oh, I don't belong here. Oh, I don't look like them. I have to go to work, like all these things. Just reaffirm yourself with all the things that are true. You deserve to be here or at any other institution just as much as anybody else. If you choose to come to Boulder, great. You shouldn't feel like an imposter with your classmates because you both got into the same university. You're taking the same courses. You're in the seat right next to them. You deserve to take up that space. And I really hope all of you take up that space and proudly.
Okay, so we're almost at the conclusion of our student panel. So one of my favorite questions, and it's the last question, is if you could describe your experience here at CU in one word, what would that word be?
I'll start. I'll sum up my interesting experience as educational.
I'm going to say multifaceted.
I'm going to say unique.
Well, thank you so much, panelists. I know you all are very busy. Let's give you a round of applause here. Attendees, please do so. Thank you all so much, and we really appreciate your time here. So next part of our agenda here is I'm going to pass the torch here to Camilla Taylor, my colleague, who will be able to help you decode your financial aid award letter. Camilla, take it away.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Andrew. I'm excited to give you a break from all this awesome presenting. Once again, if you have any particular questions, please make sure that you're using the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. The chat, we want to make sure that we're keeping clear for any links we want to share with you all, any announcements we need to make. So definitely make sure to put your question at the Q&A. So we'll go ahead and transition into the departments offering their presentations. So that includes myself acting on behalf behalf of really the Office of Financial Aid, but we do have a financial aid representative who will be available at the Q&A function at the end. And then we will have housing, who presents after myself, and then our orientation office, new student and family programs, who will present after housing. And then plenty of time to ask them questions. Any questions you have, make sure you put them in the Q&A function, and we'll go ahead and begin. So really focusing this portion on decoding your award letter. So Andrew mentioned the award letter. This is the letter, the document that particularly tells you what is the cost of attendance going to be, and then what was the financial aid that you received. So your cost of attendance minus your financial aid can essentially be the cost that is needed to be paid, whether that's paid out of pocket or, with savings accounts, or whether you have other outside scholarships coming in. We'll go ahead and talk about that right now. So really looking at how do you get your financial aid award letter. So your Buff portal particularly is going to look a little bit different than this, but the point still stands that you want to make sure that you access your holds and your to-do items to make sure that you turn all of your financial aid verifications in. Your financial aid verifications, if you do have any, not all students will receive verifications, but if you do, can certainly prevent you from receiving your financial aid award letter. This financial aid award letter will be sent to you via your email account. So if you're like, I don't know if I actually received my financial aid award letter from CU Boulder, just do a quick subject search within your email account to make sure particularly you didn't receive it and you just might have missed it. So just search CU Boulder Office of Financial Aid, because it would have came directly from them, and it would have been an Adobe attachment to your email, a PDF of some sort that might look something like this. So this is what an award letter can potentially look like. Award letters are standard practices of most universities, so I'm going to make this as general as possible, so that way you understand and can apply it to whatever school you are looking at potentially attending. Now, if you look right here on the left-hand side is where we're going to focus. This particular student received the Pell Grant. The Pell Grant was given to this student because they filled out the FAFSA. And with the FAFSA, you can receive any part of the grant. The grant is essentially free money. It's free money given to you by the federal government. And this particular type of grant is called the Pell Grant. Now, because the student received the Pell Grant, they automatically qualified for the CU Promise, mostly also in addition because they're a Colorado resident. But the biggest piece of the CU Promise is making sure that you receive some part of the Pell Grant. Now, with the CU Promise comes a lot of verification, so please make sure you're checking your Buff portal. If you are that student who received the Pell Grant, you haven't seen your award letter yet, just check your Buff portal to fill out those verifications. Super important. Now, the beautiful thing about the CU Promise is that we essentially promise to pay for the rest of your tuition. We'll give you a lump sum of money to make sure that we're offsetting your tuition and you do not have to worry about that. That is the beautiful thing. We'll put it into practice in just a bit. Now, the last thing the student received before we talk about the work study and the loans is the first generation scholarship. So this student filled out the CU Boulder scholarship application, and because they're the first person in their family to go to college, they qualified for the first generation scholarship. This is what we call an institutional scholarship, and it's particularly on the student's award letter. Now, the last three pieces, the work study and the two loan options, those were given to the student, again, because they filled out the FAFSA. With the work study, that is tied to having a job. So once again, tied to having a job. What makes you unique as a work study student is that you tend to be more preferential for employers to hire. And here's the reason. If you have $2,500 in work study, let's say you get a job working in the Office of Admissions. With the Office of Admissions, we would receive that $2,500, and that's the bucket of money that we use to pay you. So on an hourly basis, just like any normal job, that's what we use to pay you, and that will be presumably directly deposited into your bank account. Now, this may not ever touch your tuition. This might always stay in savings. This might be used for other costs outside of CU Boulder, but the difference is that we prefer you because the fact is we get to save our own money as an employer, and that work study student has that work study amount, which the employer will receive. Now, the two loan options, of course, that's borrowed money coming directly from the federal government that you can use to pay for school. Now, if you look on the right-hand side, we're going to go ahead and talk about, well, how much is school really? So looking at the tuition and fees and housing and meals, that is what we call billed costs. This is what you are going to pay CU Boulder directly. You're going to pay CU to go to school, and you're going to pay CU to live on campus your first year if you so choose. Now, tuition and fees locked in for all 4 years, and then housing and meals, particularly for your first year, again, billed by CU. Now, the last 3 items are what's not billed by CU Boulder: the books and supplies, transportations, and personal costs. We are legally held to providing those potential costs, because understand those costs can be arriving to you. As a college student, you will have to pay for textbooks. However, you might not have to pay CU Boulder directly for these textbooks. You might pay Amazon or Chegg or some other outside party, and it also depends if you even need textbooks. But as a college student, most students generally have to. Now, these 2 portions, the billed and the non-billed, make up your cost of attendance. And you might be hearing that term, especially within the Office of Financial Aid. Now, okay, with all these numbers, how much do you really owe CU Boulder? So let's put it into perspective. Looking primarily at the cost of tuition and the cost of housing and meals, understanding that is what's directly owed to CU Boulder, that's what's directly billed by CU Boulder. When you look on the right-hand side, we're going to subtract that from any financial aid the student actually received. So understanding, like I mentioned, the CU Promise, if we add up what the student received with the Pell Grant and then the CU Promise grant the student received, it's automatically going to cover their cost of tuition. So we can certainly scratch this out. In order to requalify for the CU Promise, you just need to requalify by filling out the FAFSA and receiving any part of the Pell Grant again. So that's it. Keep filling out the FAFSA, keep getting the Pell Grant, keep getting the CU Promise, and your tuition is covered. Now, because the student is entering in their first year, now understanding you generally have to look forward to living on campus with housing and meals. So any scholarships outside of the CU Promise and the Pell Grant is going to chip away at the cost of housing and meals. So this student particularly received the CU First Generation Scholarship, as I mentioned, an institutional scholarship, meaning CU Boulder is giving this student the scholarship. And then the student received a third-party scholarship, an external outside scholarship called the Denver Scholarship Foundation Scholarship, particular for Denver public school students. And so those 2 items will chip away at the cost of housing and meals. So if you add up the estimated costs, subtract it with the financial aid amount, you can see there is a remaining cost of a little over $8,000. Now you pay on a semester basis, so you're not going to pay all the $8,000 up front. You pay for fall and you pay for spring, and do know there are payment plans that exist. Now, with that being said, I'm ending a little early, but I didn't want to miss out on talking about the work study and the loan opportunities. With the work study, remember, that's tied to having a job. So unless you actively save that amount of money and put it away, you never touch it, and then use it to pay for whatever you owe CU Boulder, that is completely on the student. Again, with the loan options, keep in mind that is borrowed money. So everything else will automatically be accepted for the student, but the loan. So if the student does want to accept the loans, they do have to personally go into their Buff portal to either accept or decline these loan opportunities. And again, you will have to pay that back, and that's completely through the federal government. So understand, we do like to say loans are kind of like fire. They have the ability to keep you warm, but they can also burn the place down. At the end of the day, making sure that you talk to the Office of Financial Aid. They do have financial aid counselors available to speak with you Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 for the most part. I'd recommend giving them a call because they are able to really work with you to understand what your options are for attending CU Boulder. Now, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. Remember, put those questions into the Q&A function, and I'll hand it over to housing. Thanks so much, everyone.
Welcome, Future Buffs. My name is Rachel Ulau. I'm going to be giving you guys a little bit of a housing overview. I'm going to give you guys a lot of information and share my screen here. Before we end, I will also share how to get in touch with us for any future questions you may have. Okay. So first of all, something important to note, the housing application deadline is coming up on May 6th at 11:59 p.m. As Andrew shared at the very beginning, we suggest confirming your intent to enroll by May 1st to avoid any kind of delays there. We have 3 different living experiences that we offer at CU Boulder. You may have heard of them already. Our traditional living experience is available to all students, regardless of your major or the college that you might be enrolled in. You'll be living with students from all different backgrounds. The community and the events offered there develop organically based on those students that live there. It's a great fit for somebody who's looking for a little bit of separation between their home life on campus and their academic life. Our second living experience is our living and learning communities. Our LLC experiences are based on themes and are typically comprised of students that have a common interest in that theme. Students of all academic majors are welcome. Events and activities are based on the theme of that LLC. It's a great community for students who are passionate about the themes and want to live with other students who might be interested in the same thing. Before we end this presentation, my colleague DeAndre is going to give you guys a bit more information about some of our specific LLCs that you may be interested in. Our last kind of living experience or approach to housing are our RAP programs, which is a residential academic program. These are based on academic interests, and they do have eligibility requirements to live in these communities based on the college that you're enrolled in. When you live in a RAP, you'll know that you're likely going to be seeing some of the students in your classes in your dorm. You might be working on the same projects or homework assignments. Most of these RAPs do require students to take a class, which is offered in the building itself. And on our website, you guys can see all of kind of the details of all the different RAPs and all the LLCs. There is a first-year live-on requirement at CU Boulder. Housing is predominantly first-year students. There are 26 halls and 30 different experiences across our 2-mile campus. The Buff Bus, Our Buff Bus is a 15-minute loop that can take you around campus. It stops at many different buildings on campus, not just one spot. And it also connects our 3 different neighborhoods, which we're going to look at now. So now that you know a little bit about the experiences we offer, they're also housed in different places. There are 3 neighborhoods on campus that house our 24 residence halls. Our first one is called Williams Village. It's our largest undergraduate community on campus, and it houses over 3,000 students. Most traditional experiences are here, also our pre-business wrap. We offer all room types, including some apartment style rooms, rooms with attached baths, and air conditioning. Our buildings on Williams Village are a bit newer, so the amenities are a bit more updated. And I'll share this video with you all.
Welcome to Williams Village, or as we like to call it, Willville, your home away from home. The neat aspect of Williams Village is that it's nestled along the southeast edge of our 2-mile campus. It provides students with a retreat after classes while offering some features you can't find anywhere else at CU Boulder.
You got it, go.
Marco!
Polo!
Williams Village is home to some of the newest buildings on campus with modern amenities and air conditioning. The community is made up of 3,000 students who are mostly first year, and it has its own dining hall, rec center, academic tutoring, entrepreneurial space, field to play frisbee or relax, and a UPS store for all your mailing needs. In Colorado, we enjoy almost 300 days of sunshine a year, so there's virtually never a bad time to be outside. Relax or study in a hammock, on a blanket under a tree, or next to the fire pit. The Willville community offers students a chance to walk, skateboard, bike, or have convenient access to the private campus shuttle as they navigate campus. Another perk of Williams Village is its absolutely gorgeous views of the Flatirons, especially at sunset. At Williams Village, you'll feel part of a tight-knit community with events and opportunities to meet people throughout the entire year. Williams Village is a special place, and we're excited to welcome you.
So our second neighborhood that we're going to look at is our Kittredge neighborhood. This is a recently renovated neighborhood. The buildings here do have air conditioning. A lot of wraps are in the buildings in Kittredge. For example, our honors wrap is in Kittredge Village, our engineering programs, health professions, and a lot of our communications programs as well. Similar options here, we do offer options for roommates and also individual rooms with attached baths.
The Kittredge area is on the southwest edge of campus. It has a nature and outdoors vibe as the halls surround the Kittredge ponds that have many different types of wildlife. With a short walk to many locations like dining centers and markets, the event center, planetarium, and Kittredge Fields, this is a great place to call home. Living in Kittredge is both convenient and relaxing. Most academic buildings can be found nearby, so students can easily get to their classes by walking, biking, or skateboarding. There's always something going on to participate in, whether it's a residence hall event or a game of Frisbee on the Kittredge Fields. The community features newly renovated buildings and air conditioning too. It offers the perfect balance of everything you're looking for in a college experience.
Our last neighborhood we're going to explore is our Central Campus neighborhood. This is our most historical part of campus. The buildings are a bit older. Most of them do not have air conditioning. A lot of our wraps exist in our Central Campus as well. And most of the room types you're going to find in this area are going to be roommates with community bath.
The Central Campus area spans the northern mile of our 2-mile campus. With a short walk to many locations like dining centers and markets, the rec center, University Memorial Center, Bowling Alley, and Norland Quad, this is a great place to call home. Living in the Central Campus area is lively, with people traversing to and from class. You will often pass campus tours, listen to our CU band practice in the mornings, and enjoy a downtown-type feel. Another perk of Central Campus is its absolutely gorgeous views of the Flatirons looking down on the historic red roof buildings. There's a lot of historic beauty and new views to discover at every turn, which we know you'll love.
Okay, some dining information. Meal plans are required if you live in the residence halls. Each meal plan comes with a number of meal swipes that students can use per week, and also munch money. And munch money is a way that you can swipe in guests who you may be bringing to eat with you, and also you can use them in our retail markets and cafes around campus. If you don't like the meal plan option that you've chosen, you'll have the opportunity to change that free of charge during the first couple of weeks of the semester. Regardless of what meal plan you have, you can eat anywhere on campus. There are grab and goes, retail markets, and a lot of great options for that. We also offer reasonable accommodations for both housing and dining for residents with documented disabilities and for religious needs. We highly recommend that you reach out to disability services or to student housing to request any accommodations that you might need. Gender inclusive housing also exists and can broaden students' choices, help ensure that living environments are inclusive for all members of our community. Next, I'm going to start sharing some slides about our living and learning communities and hand it over to DeAndre to give you guys some information.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for allowing me to present to you this evening, about our great housing options. I first want to acknowledge that many of you talked about during the Q&A panel about diversity on campus, and also even talking about imposter syndrome. I want to just mention that we have 3 great opportunities for you to fill and have community on campus, and those are in Hallett Hall, with our living learning communities. And this is a great way for our students to live with like-minded students like yourselves. And we focus on the cultural identity development, social justice, connecting across difference, mentorship and support, and strengthening communities. You all talked about, and rightfully so, had concerns about diversity on campus. And so we have 3 particular LLCs that may interest you. If we can go to the next slide. We have our Spectrum LLC, which support our students in the LGBTQIA community. We have our Lucille B. Buchanan that supports our Black students. And then we have the Multicultural Perspective community that is committed to social justice and is open to any and every student that is committed to diversity and social justice. And so as you're completing your housing applications, These LOCs are a part of that housing application. If you have any questions, please feel free to connect with me, or even just select those options on your housing application so that you can start your LLC application actually. And so I wanted to mention these particular LLCs because I know that this is important to folks, and I want to make sure that we share what the communities focus on. If we can go to the next slide. So why Hallett? You may be saying, well, why Hallett? One, Hallett is on Central Campus. It's right across from the Center for Community, a few short steps away from the Rec Center or Folsom Field and the UMC. But if you choose to live in one of our LLCs, you're going to be living in a supportive and understanding community around identities. I can't express that enough. Again, if you choose to live in one of our LLCs, you're going to live in a supportive and understanding community around identities. You're going to engage in great conversations and dialogue about current happenings around identity, but also just to live with folks that look like you and share similar identities as yourselves. Culturally relevant guest speakers. We do have fun trips. You know, we go down to the Center for the Denver Performing Arts Center. We take trips to historical museums down in Denver. We have cultural relevant events that also take place. And then of course, we just have community programs. We can just be in community with each other and support each other in that realm. So if you have any questions about living learning communities, particularly our Hallett living learning communities, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is on the screen there. So go ahead and screenshot that or jot it down. It's deandre.taylor@colorado.edu. And I will be more than happy to connect with you and discuss these options around our identity-based LLCs. Thank you.
Thanks, DeAndre. Last slide for you guys. I would recommend screenshotting this as well if you'd like. Here is our contact information. Please feel free to reach out to us with specific questions. I know a lot of you are working on that housing application right now. We're welcome. We're here. We're welcome to walk you through it over the phone and help as much as we can. I'll also be available to answer any questions. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to pass it over to Amber.
Amber, you are muted.
Here we are. Thank you, Zoom. Good evening, our future buffs. We are so excited to welcome you to CU Boulder. We're excited to see so many of you joining us this evening. I am going to go ahead and get my screen shared for all of you. So you can go ahead and see. Oh, gee. What I knew this was going to be. Dual screens. All right, I'm going to keep rolling and I will get my screen pulled up. Our office is New Student and Family Programs, and we are here to welcome all of our new students, our prospective students. If you're still considering, we hope that today's program has helped you in making that decision to potentially be that future academic home for you. Again, our office is New Student and Family Programs. I'm Amber Cardamone. I serve as the director in our office, and we are here to welcome you and your parents, families, and support systems. So if any of them are on the call here with us this evening, they are a welcome member of our community. We see them as partners as well, and we want to make sure that you all have our contact information. I know that this evening has already provided you a wealth of information, and there is a lot when it comes to your academic and college journey at CU Boulder. So if you have a second, take a screenshot of our information here. One of the exciting features that we find that most of our students also prefer is to text us. So you can feel free to go ahead and text us and we will get back to you during our normal business hours, Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. But you can also send us an email or check us out on our website. We do have live chat features as well on our website for you to connect with us and some of our current students. So really, I'm here to talk to you about some of those next steps. You've heard some people talk to you about that new student welcome experience. And one of the components of that experience is that traditional orientation. So here at CU Boulder, we actually have a two-part orientation program. So our first part is online. It will take place. If those of you have confirmed already, you're excited, we're excited to have you. You should have received an email from us actually today to your CU email account. I know Andrew shared that earlier already, so go ahead and get in there, get that all activated and check that email out about next steps. It's going to tell you all about our orientation program. It's going to help you to figure out how to connect with our office and some of our current peers called Journey Leaders in our office. So you will have all of the summer to complete that online experience, but you can start that as early as next week. So go ahead and make sure to check out your email. For those of you who are still maybe deciding, you're not sure if CU is still that home for you, once you decide, we'll get an email and have access to that online experience, and you can start that as soon as you go ahead and confirm with us to be a new CU buff. The second component that you'll have with us is our in-person on-campus orientation experience, and that actually takes place in August. So if you are going to be living with us, as you just saw some amazing living opportunities from our folks in our housing office, you'll be able to start that experience as soon as you move in. If you're still going to be a commuter or a non-residential student with us, you'll still have the same experience, and you'll be able to start that with all the other new students coming to campus as well in August. Just going to spend a little bit of time here talking about the online steps. I know, again, a lot of information, and like I said, this can happen as early as next week for those of you who have confirmed. So we do have our online experience, and that's going to be accessible to you through your Buff portal. I'm going to talk to you here in a moment about that Buff portal. That's really our student portal where students can access a lot of their information. And I know you did see a screenshot of that already, because that's where your financial aid information and a lot of your information as a CU student will live. In addition to completing that online experience, which has a series of modules, that's going to help you to just learn a little bit about campus. Who are we? What are some of the resources that are out there that exist for you to take advantage of, to just become familiar with? But primarily that online experience is going to talk to you about two very important components of your journey to CU, and that's going to be academic advising. So the importance of that academic advisor and the role they're going to play in helping you select courses and register for classes. So you'll get a lot of that information right in that online experience, and that's going to be tailored to your program of choice. So depending on what major you're coming in as, the content in that online experience and that orientation is going to be specific to you. And so would your placement assessment. So based on your major, that will determine what placement assessments you might need to take. And that's all going to be outlined in that Buff portal for you. So in addition to learning how to connect with your academic advisor, which we do suggest you do in June, you will get your academic advisor assignment in mid-May. And if you're a transfer student, we also encourage you to reach out to your advisor in May before your registration in June. So we acknowledge that first year and transfer students have a slightly different timeline. I just want to make sure that that's noted as well. In addition to connecting around academic advising, our online experience is also going to talk to you about course registration. So I know that that can be extremely overwhelming, but our new students do have the option to select enrollment windows for courses that work for their schedule. We know you might still have a busy summer. Some of you might still be taking classes. Maybe you have a full-time job. So we do have a few options for you to select that will work for your schedule. And once you complete that online experience, you'll get access to selecting that course registration window. Course registration is just like, picture shopping, online shopping, like you have your Amazon cart, right? You're going to go in after you talk to your academic advisor, after you've completed that online experience, you're going to know what classes that you'd like to pick. And they're going to go ahead and you can go ahead and put those in your shopping cart. And then when it's time for you to check out during your enrollment window, you'll go ahead and just check out and put those classes onto your schedule. So that's going to take place, obviously connecting with that academic advisor in June, followed by July for our first year students to enroll in your courses. And you'll be able to, again, select specific enrollment dates that work for your schedule. So I've just talked to you a little bit about that process, and this is all going to take place in the Buff portal. So I do want to spend a little bit of time here just showing you what that Buff portal looks like. For those of you, again, who are confirmed, you'll have access to this as early as next week. Again, check that email that we just sent to you today about those next steps. And then once you do confirm, if you haven't yet, again, you'll get access to your Buff portal and you'll see what we call our new student welcome card. This is a screenshot from a previous year, but you'll see when yours pops up, it's actually going to say fall 2021. And that'll be specific again to you as a CU student. It's going to be based on the college and major that you're in. But you'll be able to see there very distinctly on the left hand of the screen is the general overview. And you can kind of see on the right hand side the blow up of what that will look like. So you're going to just go step by step through each of those tasks and complete each of those to help you make sure that you're doing all the to-do items and releasing any holds that might be associated with your account so you can register for courses and start your smooth transition to CU Boulder. If you want to learn additional information, we do have this all mapped out on our website as well. So you can go ahead and just follow the step-by-step guide. I know a lot of us have already been reiterating step 1 to activate that identity. Obviously making sure that you also have access to your CU email. Really want to make sure that you're completing that online experience because it's going to unlock some other steps for you to be able to progress, to complete those placement assessments, select your advising appointment, take a chance to get to know your advisor, and then you'll go ahead and register for classes. So go ahead and check out our website for more information, but really important for you to go ahead and make sure that you're checking that CU email. If you get lost along the way, you always have our office to support you, so you can feel free to reach out at any time, and we're happy to walk you through each of those steps. One of the most exciting experiences that you'll have as a new CU buff is our fall welcome experience. So this is our in-person orientation, and that's going to take place August 15th through the 29th. We have a series of events and activities to help you get connected, right? To learn a little bit more about campus, to figure out how to navigate campus. You know, where do I go? Where are my classes? You know, where's great study spaces? But most importantly, it's an opportunity for you to connect with other current students, right? New students, potentially meet some mentors with upper class students, and other faculty and staff who are going to be integral to your success as a CU buff. So we will have a lot of different events and activities. These are just a short list of the multitude of options that are going to be out there for you to participate in. Specifically, we'll have some specialized meetups, buff meetups, so you can get to know students who have either similar interests or hobbies as you, maybe identity-based meetups and affinity groups, if that's something of interest. There's just a whole plethora of those opportunities out there for you as well. So we are excited for this opportunity, and we hope to see you at this experience. But before then, you can feel free to reach out to us at any point in time about your experience. Again, you can email us, you can go on our website. You're happy and welcome to stop by our office. We are in the office as well, or you can call or text us. We just look forward to having you as a CU buff, and I'm happy to answer any further questions. Let's go Buffs.
Thank you so much, Amber. So next, as we transition to the final 15 minutes of our program, I would like to pass it on to Navardo again, as we do have a special Q&A session here. Ready to get started?
Hi again, everyone. This is just a quick reminder that I am available at the end of our program to answer your questions in Spanish if you would like. My colleague Aviva will be posting the link in the chat very briefly. Buenas tardes a todos otra vez. Les estoy recordando que estaré yo disponible para contestar sus preguntas en español al terminar de nuestro programa. Mi colega Aviva pondrá la información en el chat cortamente para que puedan accesar a nuestro programa al final. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much, Navardo. So we do want to take this final 13 minutes just to answer any final questions that you all have. I know we do have a few really good questions in the Q&A function, and I would like to bring our presenters from New Student Family Programs and Housing to assist me with this final panel session here. And we also do have another guest as well. Stephen from Financial Aid should be joining us, but we also have Camilla who can speak to financial aid questions as well. So one really good question that we do have is, when will I receive my financial aid information? Will it be revised? What if I received a scholarship? Could you just walk me through on that process?
Yes, Stephen, I believe you are here, so feel free to hop on camera if you'd like. Love your
advice. Sorry, I was answering questions in the chat. Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry, Andrew.
Yeah, so the question is just regarding the financial aid updates. A student got an award letter, and then there's a scholarship that was awarded. So could you just walk us through maybe what to expect in terms of the financial aid timeline and awards?
Yeah, so for our incoming students, our office will start sending, initially we'll send an estimated offer. And then in the Buff portal, we may be requesting additional documentation. So before we can finalize your offer, we do need all those to-do items complete before we can actually send you that. Any scholarships that show up after the initial financial aid offer will be reflected in your Buff portal accordingly.
Thank you, Stephen. So we do have a question regarding the Buff portal. So the question is, I can only see the finance tab, the housing tab. When will I be able to officially sign up for classes? I know we talked about this, but let's go ahead and share that again and reiterate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So starting actually next week, for any student who is a confirmed student, that means that you've committed to CU Boulder, you will get access to your new student welcome card. That'll actually launch as early as Saturday, but you'll have plenty of time to go in there. But if you are eager, you can go in first thing on Saturday when our new students come into the system and go ahead and get started. You'll see that new student welcome card populate, and it's going to walk you through all those steps. Starting midweek next week, so a little bit later after that launches, you'll be able to complete that online experience. So the online experience is going to be that critical component to complete in order to be able to register for classes. So there are multiple modules, but two that are very important that you must complete in order to be able to register. So that's going to be your advising, so academic advising, learning about what your classes that you do need, a little bit more about how to connect with your academic advisor and support services. But the second one is going to be that enrolling in classes. It's going to walk you through how to enroll in classes, how to select that enrollment window, and really make sure that you're ready to go ahead and select the enrollment window that works for your schedule. And so once you select that enrollment window, so say that, enrollment window is in July, you will see the dates and times and it'll populate, and you'll be able to go into the enrollment registration process, which is right again through that Buff portal, and you'll be able to select your classes. So those happen throughout the entire summer, June and July for students, and it's again based on the date that you select that you'll be able to go and take action. Don't worry, I know it's a lot of information, but you will receive emails and notifications and reminders to make sure that you do, once you select that enrollment window, that you remember to go and take action within that enrollment window. Know our office is always here to support you through that process. We know we have some times where something comes up and they need to change their enrollment window. So you can reach out to us and we're happy to help you get into a new enrollment window that'll work for your schedule so that you can get the classes you need.
Thank you so much, Amber. And students, please feel free to answer any questions into the chat as well. But Rachel, I have a really good question for you. So let's say I'm deciding to confirm tonight I want to come to Boulder and I need to apply for housing. Could you just maybe walk me through that timeline and how soon should I get my housing application in?
Of course. So part of the reason that we are really encouraging students to confirm that enrollment by May 1st is because that housing deadline is May 6th, and it will take 3 to 5 business days for your information to process in all of our systems. Once that has happened, you will get an email that says it's time to apply for housing, and you will be able to log into that My CU Living portal. Your application will show you all of your eligible options. It pulls all of your information from the Office of Admissions. You don't have to worry about preferencing something that you wouldn't be eligible for. So that application will know who you are. We'll have all your information. And if you get into that application and you're a little bit confused, please call our office. We're welcome to walk you through it, answer any questions. You can log in and log back out, sleep on it, change your mind. As long as we remember that May 6th, 11:59 p.m., things kind of get set in stone. And after that, things are likely going to move to a wait list. So we really want to make sure that we can kind of get all of your preferences and all of your ranked options considered. So that's kind of that big deadline there.
Thank you, Rachel. So Stephen, I do have a financial aid question for you. So I know a lot of students will apply for scholarships into their freshman year and then maybe not apply for a scholarship ever again. So could you just inform our students how you could renew scholarships every year? Could you walk us through that process?
Yeah, that's a good point, Andrew. That is a very accurate thing too. We have, so our office handles the CU Boulder scholarship application every year. It's a yearly application that we kind of go live. And essentially it opens up on November 1st, closes in mid-March every year, and it's open for both first-year students and continuing students. We do send reminders through the Buff portal for continuing students to fill that out once it opens. And essentially, if a student is selected for a scholarship award, we will email that student individually by, this year it's going to be by April 30th, so this upcoming Friday. It'll have the name of the scholarship, the amount of the scholarship, and kind of details. But yeah, all the scholarships you're applying for are just for a year, so just 2 semesters usually. But yeah, please, as a continuing student, you want to make sure to get that filled out every year, similar to the FAFSA. So FAFSA is also a yearly thing that students have to fill out.
So Amber, I do have another question for you. So let's say a student may be interested in changing majors. What would you maybe recommend for students if they have to change advisors? What would that process possibly look like?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the student panel kind of talked a little bit about this. This is really common. So don't feel like that's something you can't do through the process. If you are thinking about changing your major, there is a form online that you can go ahead and fill out. I think that is actually right on your status page. You should see that right now. When you accepted your admission, there's another button there. It's a blue button that request for a change of major process. So you would want to go ahead and fill that out. And then your current admissions counselor is going to go ahead and review that just to make sure, depending upon the timing in which you're changing that, so we can get you connected in the system. They'll go ahead and approve that process, and then that'll actually automate a process where we change your advisor in the system. So everything's happening in that Buff portal, and you'll then see a new advisor listed. Your old advisor will be very helpful as well, so we don't want you to think that you can't go to them. All of our academic advising units are really well-versed and knowledgeable. It's really common for students to inter-university transfer or IUT. That happens very often on our campus. And so they'll be able to direct you, but you will get reassigned a new advisor so that they could guide you based on the current major and making sure you're getting the right courses so you can get those courses completed for degree completion. So that would all happen. You can go ahead and change that again throughout the summer, very possible. And then if that's going to happen after the semester begins, you're going to have to work directly with your academic advisor. But between now and the start of the semester, you're going to go ahead online into that portal, and you're going to go ahead and click that button to get that process started. Feel free to call the office too if you need help with that.
Thank you, Amber, for clarifying. So Rachel, so let's say I'm applying for housing, and maybe you have a buddy, a friend that I want to stay in the same dorm with. Could you walk us through that process? And then I know some students are interested in maybe living at home, and I know you kind of touched on that a little bit, but could you speak to those topics?
Sure. So to answer your first question about roommates, because who isn't thinking about that when they're moving into residential halls? Our roommate process is going to start in July this year. So you will know your housing assignment. Gives you guys a little bit of time too to think about that. Do you know somebody already who you'd like to live with, or are you going to go through kind of our roommate selection process where you'll fill out a whole bunch of information about yourself, what your lifestyle is like, and also who you think you would pair best with? We'll use some of that information to kind of match you guys up. If you already have somebody in mind, maybe you have a buddy from your school or your hometown or somebody you played sports with, and you know that you're both going to be buffs and you guys would like to live together, you'll have the opportunity to request each other by name to live together. Again, there's a whole bunch of room types on campus. Our website has a ton of information about which room types exist in which buildings. Again, lots of different options there. As far as living off of campus, Generally, first-year students are required to live on campus at CU Boulder. It really benefits your experience getting to know the university, learning how to navigate campus, learning about all those resources that we kind of learned about tonight. However, we understand that there are certainly exceptions that need to be made sometimes and that people have extenuating circumstances. If you feel like that's you, when you log into that My CU Living portal, you'll see something called a first-year release petition. And that's something that you can apply for kind of on a case-by-case basis. If you're a little bit curious about whether that would apply for you or not, you guys are welcome to reach out to our office. We can kind of answer all those questions and walk you through that petition process as well.
Thank you so much. Panelists, we really appreciate your time and your expertise this evening for our students. So this concludes our Black and Gold event. So you will be receiving, students, attendees, an email of a survey. We want to continue to improve when we do these events on campus or virtually. So please fill out the survey. Also, you will be getting a recording of tonight's event, so you can go back and see like, oh, what was Stephen talking about? What was Rachel talking about? Maybe you want to relive that panel. So you'll be getting a video as well. So certainly make sure just to do the survey and then continue to work on your next steps. We certainly want to see you here in Boulder in August, and we're super excited for you all. Thank you for joining us. You'll have a very good evening, and we will be in touch, and go Buffs.